How do you think about events as part of your strategy? I know, you have like the winter games and then
Yeah,
spring, and then I've seen you post a lot on Twitter about like I think about how connections are maybe even more important than the content.
that's right.
Yeah, how do you think
Mm.
about events?
So virtual events are just so easy to put on. Everybody should put on virtual events. And you don't want to do your regular webinar stuff. You want to have a more interesting spin on it. So winter games is like, so if other companies do online conferences once a year, why can't you do one every month, every week? So that was the premise. And, started doing every month a virtual conference, like 20 speakers. I was like all day marathon, like 8 hours. I was always the moderator. So it was extremely tiring actually to, listen with, actually pay attention so you can ask good questions. So since then, we've cut down the amount of speakers and how long each talk is to like 4 speakers. Because what we also found out that was, or every virtual event doesn't matter what the speakers are, what the topics are. You have the most viewers, speaker one, and then it just declines slowly. Even if you have the most famous person as the closing keynote, it will have the least amount of viewers, just guaranteed. And so, but the amount of registrants, whether you have 30 speakers or 4, is the same. There really was just no point doing longer events. But it's not called a webinar, so it's a more interesting value proposition. People pay more attention. So that's the winter game stuff. But we also started doing real world physical conferences. Well, we've done one last year. Actually, this last spring was the first conference. We called it Spring. And why do a conference? Well, first of all, at CXL, we did this, we're still doing this conversion optimization conference called CXL Live. So I have a lot of conference organization experience. And what I know is that conferences make you seem bigger than you are. And as a smaller startup, credibility is the name of the game. And as you want to go more up market, get bigger budgets, bigger companies to pay attention to you. So, and some individuals are risking their reputation on buying you. You need to seem more credible. And a conference, still a real, not online conference, in-person conference still seems more credible because like the barrier to entry is higher. Not everybody can pull it off. So you must be a big conference if you're putting on a conference. In reality, it doesn't need to be expensive, doesn't need to be complicated. It can be very, this particular conference I organized single-handedly because I don't have a small team. It's like they've never done a conference. I mean, for me, it's easy because really what you need is pick a date, book a venue, make sure there's food and drink, invite some people to speak, and that's it. Right? If I could do this all in one day, it would take me 2 days to organize this conference. Right? Selling tickets is harder, but you can mitigate risks by just avoiding hotels and conference centers because those guys know how to charge money. I rented out a brewery, and they just said, hey, typically on this day we do this much revenue, so this is the food and beverage minimum, which was I think 30K or something. If you hit this, everything else is free. So it's like, sweet. And I mean, I did it in order to hit this minimum even. I made it all you can drink and eat, including beer, and like unlimited and we still didn't hit the limit. Yeah. So,
No, I love the story in there of like, I don't know, appearing bigger than you are, right? That is such a good thing for all startups to take away from this conversation. It's a lesson I kept applied again and again at Lattice of you can invest into a little bit more into design or conferences and just do things that big companies do. And then, you feel like a big company, right? And then
yeah,
everyone's always surprised how small you actually are.
exactly. Like, don't go and buy a booth at Sasser because that's just ridiculous expense. But you can do similar things, but just be smart about how you organize the things. Or you can throw dinners around big conferences and paying for food is not that expensive.
Um,